Wherefore, Part 40. The Five Valleys walk is as problematic as it is powerful from a magical perspective. The problems fall into two broad areas. One is about power, and the other is about geography. The event itself was set up by the now deceased wizard Whistlington. Its primary purpose is to maintain a circle of protective magic around Stroud. Unfortunately, it cuts through Nailsworth, doesn't include the town of Painswick or most of Slad, and makes magical edges and ripples in other villages and hamlets. The wizard Whistlington took very little interest in the valleys and villages and only wanted to secure boundaries that would further protect their power base in the town centre. It was not popular with the other 6 wizards when it was set up, nor is it popular with the 7 wizards who run Stroud today. The walk does raise a lot of power, as thousands of people sacrifice the day and sometimes their minds, thighs, calves and feet to the magical defence of the town. That they think they are doing it to raise money for charity is of no consequence. Their pain and blisters, exhaustion, frustration, sweat and tears all add to the magical mix. It feels like uphill all the way. It costs. The power raised is of course attractive. Any wizard who has ever seen it has at least wondered what they might do with that power, or imagined they could put it to better use. Of course, not all of the wizards who covetously eye the circle of power made by the walk are Stroud wizards. It would be bad enough for the other 6 if one of them was able to take control of this magic. If another wizard came in from outside, it would be a disaster. And so while they keep a careful eye on each other, the 7 wizards have, since Whistlington's death, made it their business to protect the walk from outside influences. The wizard Winklepicker is of course on the committee that organises the Five Valleys walk. This means she is able to prevent non-Stroud wizards from becoming involved. She is also able to protect the integrity of the route. It has varied significantly over the years, but so long as it goes through the key magical points Whistlington set up, then all is well. The other 6 wizards spend the day as volunteers at checkpoints along the walk, keeping an eye on things. It is a tense day, and the amount of magic and the potential danger makes all of this stressful. The wizards are generally grumpy and not as in control of themselves as would be ideal. The wizard Winklepicker no longer leaves wizard volunteers at checkpoints that do not also have good supplies of sugary snacks. It is better this way. There is less tidying up to do and a lower risk of having to persuade random walkers that they had terrible bouts of sunstroke and hallucinated those things. There are logistical problems that go with the magic, and they are at least predictable and can be planned for. The wizard Winklepicker is organised and fussy about detail and able to keep all of this sort of thing under control, even if she can't harvest the magic of the event and put it to better use, which she would very much like to do. However, the second problem, the geographical one, haunts the event and is far harder to deal with. This is the issue of the 6th valley. As the name suggests, the Five Valleys walk takes the unwitting ritualist through the 5 valleys generally considered to surround Stroud. Even if it does invariably feel like the whole thing requires you to walk uphill the entire time, it is still only supposed to hurt you through the medium of 5 familiar and uncomplicated valleys. There isn't a 6th valley on any of the maps. It is not a 6 valley walk. Most people do not like to mention the 6th valley, as though speaking about it might attract its attention. Where exactly it is, no one is sure. The paths in and out of it vary. However, losses on the 5 Valleys walk are more prevalent at Toadsmoor, Slad and Pitchcombe, which does not suggest a straightforward relationship between the 5 valleys and the 6th one. It is of course possible that people go astray for other reasons, and that it is simply a habit of local folklore to assume they have somehow ended up in the 6th valley. What do we know of this uncanny place? Folklore, fantasy and memory mingle together and the results are hazy. It is properly called Ditchley Yat, and through it runs a waterway called the Ditch Brook, renowned for slow-moving silty water with an unpleasant aftertaste. Ditch brook water often turns up in other valleys during times of flooding. The lost parish of Ditchlouse may in fact be in Ditchley Yat. This is not certain. It is possible that Ditchlouse parish ceased to exist during the Black Death. The place may be thriving and alive in the Sixth Valley. There is also a school of local history thought that reckons Ditchlouse to never have existed, that it was only ever a work of fiction or a moral tale around something we should all be doing differently. Who knows what? It was perhaps a metaphor for rural deviance, a message about failing education or sinfulness, or a PR campaign to recruit new followers for the Whore of Babylon. No one is sure. The people who find or are found by Ditchley Yat do not always return, and never return in quite the same condition. The wizard Winklepicker has never liked the way in which Ditchley Yat seems to snack upon participants in the Five Valleys walk, as though it is getting revenge for being left out of the loop, perhaps. Most of the year the elusive Sixth Valley keeps itself to itself, but it just can't resist luring someone out of the walk. Of course, it never shows itself to any of the organisers. It never takes anyone who is carrying a phone, a camera, or other such technology. It is a wily foe and difficult to outsmart. What do they do in there? What happens to people persuaded from the proper route into the instability of Ditchley Yat? What does it want with them? No one knows. In the aftermath of each year's walk, Winklepicker has to do a great deal of work identifying the missing and making sure not too much attention is paid. If too many people noticed, it might put the walk itself in jeopardy. Problematic as the walk is, no one knows what would happen if this yearly power-raising ritual were to end. It is a pact with the land, and there is no telling what else Whistlington brought into it. Winklepicker is pragmatic enough to accept the sacrifice of a few people to the Sixth Valley as the price of keeping the walk going. She has considered that it might have been the essence of the deal all along. This makes for a tricky balancing act. There is a chance that the whole point of the Five Valleys walk is that it creates suitable sacrifices with which to pacify the hunger of the elusive Sixth Valley. Just to be on the safe side, she never tries too hard to stop the Valley of Ditchley Yat from showing up somewhere and taking its cut. Half a dozen seems like a fair upper limit. It takes some work to make sure enough people forget about them, but in fairness, the Sixth Valley does tend to call to the souls who will not be much missed, and so the annual sacrifice is not as difficult to cover up as it might have been. Still, it feels personal. Winklepicker is in some ways the Sixth Valley's unwilling accomplice, and in some ways she is its nemesis. She has never so much as glimpsed the place, and this only makes her more obsessed with the idea of what it is and what it might be.